Welcome to my first chapter review for Visual Multimedia Storytelling taught by Professor Ken Ferree at Empire State College. I will be reviewing the following two books for you. Exploring Visual Storytelling, which I will call EVS, and Visual Storytelling, which I will refer to as VS. The reason why I have to refer to them like this is because they share visual storytelling in their titles, the storytelling being the key part that I'll be focusing on. Each chapter handles the topics a little bit differently, so I'll be referring to each question from both vantage points. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. These two books are actually very different. VS, which actually more importantly, or more accurately, would probably be videography and post-production in the digital age. This text actually focuses mainly on a lot of aspects for real, actual working business class video productions, whereas VS deals more with the theories and stages of actual telling a story visually. VS rather has a lot of references to marketing, hiring directors, working with talent, using outside facilities, where EVS, Exploring Visual Storytelling, is just doing that. It's just exploring the visual storytelling aspect, not any of the any of the finer details of the production. The number one thing an audience is looking for is a good story. You have to have a good story to begin with, and you have to do a lot of planning to make sure that that story comes out. Actually writing the story, developing the characters, giving the characters some depth always hooks your audience, having an engaging story. But then from another angle, actually having the production to be able to tell that story and have it be visually interesting and dynamic, have enough cameras, lighting, and microphones to actually present the story feasibly in a theater or in some other venue. Well, first off, let's quickly define audience, which is a group of people that it's intended that are going to watch your piece of media or watch the video. So how do you meet the audience's expectation? Well, most audiences have an idea of what it is they're going to see before they see it. Normally have seen some type of preview or read something about it. So really they have a bar for which you, the visual storyteller, have to meet. So it's really dependent on how well you stick to your descriptions and how well you've told your story within whatever genre you've chosen. In order to make most any connection, it's emotional. So if a storyteller can make an emotional connection with his audience through the characters or through the story, then that's how you build an empathetic link. No one enjoys watching the same thing over and over and over again. Here, I'll move just to prove that point. So you want to contrast whatever it is that you're showing to break it up so that there's less monotony and the viewer is interested. My mother always used to say beginning, middle, and end. So that's the basic rule of three. The one text, EVS, actually refers to this, has a great sentence rather. 3 allows for an introduction to an idea, a reminder thereof, and its placement in long-term memory. I think that is probably the most direct definition. Pre-production, most simply, is anything that happens before the beginning of the actual formal production. So all of the planning, all of the gathering of equipment and gear, the hiring of all the staff, the talent, the director, getting sites in place, communicating with the client, making sure that both parties or all parties, if there are any third parties, everyone's involved in the process and everyone knows what's about to happen. It's very important, and actually VS, Videography in the Digital Age, spends its entire second chapter on it. That's how important it is, going into great detail in many of the areas that I spoke about before, whereas just the visual storytelling, Exploring Visual Storytelling, treats it a little bit less important, mainly because their focus is on the actual telling of the story. Some of the best ideas are to be prepared and be confident and make sure you have enough materials to properly present your story. Uh, don't stand mumbling with your hands in your pockets. Be confident. Know your story. If you have a storyboard or some other type of preview or something, make sure that you're familiar with it, or whoever's presenting it, which should be the storyteller. Make sure that they're familiar with it and that they sell it. Selling it means that you love it, and you've got to make other people love it too. Exposition is the bed on which context is built. It is the facts. Normally happens in the first part of a story where you're introduced to some character or setting and you immediately associate with the norms of that environment. I think pretty much anybody can answer that question, and that's always to show. Visual storytelling is just that, it's visual. You can tell so much without any words, any narration, just with a story and enhanced by music. It's always better to show than to tell. Exposition should be used in conjunction with when characters come in contact with an obstacle. If the audience is viewing events for the first time, viewing information for the first time simultaneously to a character encountering an obstacle, then when the character overcomes that obstacle, the audience learns something new about that character. Tangibles are anything that can be touched or exist in this world that can be seen on film. Intangibles are things listed in the question. So, how do you show the wind? You can show the wind visually by showing the effects of it, but more importantly, how you show the other intangibles is normally through dialogue, through the narrative either of a narrator or dialogue between characters. A third way that you can show values, or a third way that you can show emotions and values, is by actions, by the decisions that the characters make. When you reveal an intangible, it helps set the stage for the story, and the stage for the story is the context. So when things that you can't really see or can't you don't see on film, you don't know exist, when they're revealed to you, it adds depth to the story. When you give facts in the beginning of the story, you're setting the stage, building the context. If you reveal facts during a conflict, you're adding tension. You're building a path up to the climax of your story and then ultimately the resolution. Poetry is a very expressive and artistic medium, so is visual storytelling. You have an idea, you're trying to compel someone to gain new information, and you're using emotions and tie-ins to characters and connections with people in order to tell that story. You can take a single instance, a single situation, and look at two different reactions to that. You can look at an old lady getting out of a cab and dropping her purse and money falling out, and somebody walking up, seeing that money, seeing the old woman picking it up and running off with it while she's yelling and screaming after him. Versus someone else, a good Samaritan type character, picking up that purse, putting the money back in, and then giving it back to the old woman. So the different ways that characters choose to react to a situation, their choices, indicate to you what their character and what their moral values are.